Hey guys, welcome to Midweek Live. If you don't already know me, I'm Alan, and I just want to say I really miss you guys, and I hate talking to you through a camera. I miss Wednesday nights, I miss Sunday mornings, I miss it all, but it's going to take a little bit for us to get to that point. But anyways, I'm sick of this stay-at-home order. I really am. But one thing that it's got me doing is watching a bunch of these movies and a bunch of chick flicks, honestly. I'd never think that I would watch so many chick flicks, but honestly, they're some of my favorite type of movies. Let me know in the comments below, kind of in Instagram, YouTube, whatever, what movies you've been watching during quarantine, and we'll let you know if we watch them or not, or if we think your opinion is good or bad, if they're a good or bad movie. But anyways, other than just the movies themselves, I am a huge nerd when it comes to screenwriting. Like, I love how writers create main characters and that have this huge backstory and everything, but they only show us glimpses of it, but they expect us to actually know everything about the main character. Like, we're supposed to know every little thing about them, but we really don't. That's why God created, and these writers created, the flashback. And so you kind of see a glimpse of their previous life, or a glimpse of what they've been through before, and it kind of makes sense for it now. So let's say, for example, a great movie, Taken, with Liam Neeson, one of my favorite guys, just goes sicko mode on all these foreign guys trying to find his daughter. And the entire time I'm thinking, well, how in the world is this old dude so good at kicking tail? Then we see a flashback of him working for some military dudes, being a bodyguard for some famous actress or pop singer, and we're like, oh, okay, that's where he got that from. Oh, he was in the military. Oh, that makes so much sense. So by understanding where he comes from, that helps us understand his current story better. But sometimes these flashbacks happen at such weird times. Like, Liam Neeson is running through Paris trying to find his daughter, and it flashes back to a scene where the daughter is just now leaving for Europe. And Liam Neeson's like, you gotta be careful. Don't talk to anyone. I was trying to do a Liam Neeson voice. You gotta be careful. And I was like, wait, what? I thought she was missing. I thought she was taken. But what's happening? But no, it was a flashback to a time where she clearly did not listen to him and got taken. And so I'm just kind of thinking, what does it have to do with anything if she didn't really listen to him? I'll tell you what, guys, there's some things in our life where we've really felt like that too. Like, there's moments where I've asked, what is happening? Why does it have to do with anything? Like right now in this quarantine, what does it have to do with anything in my life in the future or currently right now? And maybe you felt the same way too, being the main character of your story. And I bet you already know this too, but these things are called difficulties. Hard stuff that happen in our life, they're called difficulties. Pain, struggles, problems, all these we can look to in the future and see why they're part of our backstory. So we kind of fast forward in our life and we go back to the time where we're like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now, or this leads me to do this now, and so I feel like I have a better understanding and grasp of my life. But as of now, these difficulties and hardships are part of our current story. Now, for the past 2 weeks, we've had Tammy and Laura talk about what to do when you don't know what to do. But tonight I want to talk to you what to do when it all hits the fan. What to do whenever things go really bad. But not only in this quarantine life stuff and the stay-at-home stuff, but stuff that we've been going through before it all. A friend losing their life, bullying, or a learning disability that makes it hard for you to learn something new. Parents fighting, or maybe sometimes self-harm that's out of control and you can't really find a rhyme or reason to it. And this is pretty heavy stuff, painful stuff, real life stuff. In the midst of it, we don't ask, what do I do? But we ask, why? Why is this happening to me at all? In the moment right now, this doesn't make sense. And it seems like it's just kind of pointless. And it makes just life a little harder for no reason at all. Let me tell you this, y'all. In moments of our life where we find it hard and confusing, we can learn what to do by looking at people who have gone through the thick of it. Just like our buddy Joseph. Now, we've been looking at the life of Joseph and what he's had. He's had his ups and downs. Sold into slavery, made the number 2 guy for Potiphar, was accused of something that he didn't do. And this dude went from being a free man to a slave like he was flipping pancakes. It was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I bet you he asked himself, what's the point of that? What's the point of all this? Why is God having me to do this? So let's read here and kind of go on further in the story on what happens with our buddy Joseph. I'll be reading in Genesis chapter 40, verses 1 through 3. Sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker committed an offense against their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. And he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison where Joseph was confined. Now, Pharaoh is the big boss of all of Egypt, alright? I'm sure you already knew that. So if he got mad at you and wanted to throw you in prison, he was going to do it. And you had no say, rhyme or reason to go against it. You had no jury, nothing. He was the judge, prosecutor, and jury. Whatever he said went. Even if you haven't done anything illegal. And that's what happened to those two guys. They were thrown into jail for no reason, right next to Joseph. But let's kind of read on and see what else happens. I'm going to read on verses 4 through 8. The captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them, and he attended them. They continued for some time in custody. And one night they both dreamed, the cupbearer and the baker, the king of Egypt, who was confined in the prison, each his own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in the custody of his master's house, "Why are your faces downcast today?" They said to him, "We have had dreams, and there is no one to interpret them." And Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me." So even when Joseph was thrown into jail for no reason at all, he still decided to honor God and give him all the glory. And the men told Joseph their dreams. And with God's help, Joseph told them exactly what they meant. And then, whatever Joseph interpreted their dreams, that would happen, they actually happened. Based on the dream that the chief cupbearer had, Joseph said that he'd be restored to a favorable position. And he was. And as for the chief baker, Joseph said that he would not have the same luck. And he didn't. I encourage y'all to read the rest of the story in depth of everything, because it's really awesome and nuts. But then after Joseph told the cupbearer in the meeting of his dream, he asked him to remember, if he gets out of jail, to tell Pharaoh about him and to remember Joseph by name, because they're friends now. But that's not what happened at all. The story tells us that the cupbearer completely forgot about Joseph, and he went out of jail and to live out his own life again. Ouch. That kind of sucks. And the rest of the time Joseph was in there, he wondered if his new friend would actually tell the Pharaoh about him or tell anyone about him. But then he definitely realized that his friend had completely forgot about him, and I'm sure he asked, what was the point of helping him with his dream? What was the point of telling him the reason for his dream? I still honored God, but it feels like he completely forgot about me. But then 2 pretty long years later, Pharaoh had 2 dreams that troubled him. And he desperately searched for someone on his staff to tell him what these dreams meant, to interpret them. But no one could. And then that was the moment whenever the cupbearer had some light bulb shine above his head, and it was like, oh man, Joseph, this guy that I met in prison, he's really good at interpreting dreams. Pharaoh called for Joseph, who interpreted the dream with incredible accuracy. And as a result, Joseph was officially made the second in charge of all of Egypt, the right-hand man of Pharaoh. Now, under his leadership, Egypt survived a terrible famine that eventually put Egypt in position to save Joseph's old family and other people from his homeland who were suffering from the famine itself too. It was 2 full years until the cupbearer finally remembered Joseph's name. Now, Joseph's challenging circumstances uniquely positioned him to something great. Joseph still had to wait 2 years though. Now, all the good things that happened in Joseph's world didn't make the bad things that he went through okay at all. Being promoted to second command didn't undo his challenges that he faced, like being sold into slavery by his brothers. But at the same time, those difficult circumstances positioned him and prepared him for something great, something only he could do. Now, this is how it applies to us. Hard things can happen in your life. And it is so important to remember that just because something is going wrong doesn't mean God did this to you or God has it out for you at all. And Pastor Keith said it best. Whenever something bad happens to you, God's heart is the first to break. He hurts with you and for you. And it's only because of the fall of man, sin, life isn't fair to us. Life doesn't make sense. Life isn't easy. When it seems like it's impossible for anything good to happen, God is making good in the impossible. And Romans 8:28 says it best. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And I'm going to be real with you. A Bible verse doesn't just make everything okay and just doesn't make everything kind of slip off our back at all. And it might not even make sense yet, but hear this. God is best at making hurt, difficult situations, shortcomings, pain, and turns them into moments of redemption for us. That means whatever evil thing happens to us, God uses it for our own good. God uses it for us. Our problems can reposition our purpose. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that we can just wrap up a bad situation and everything will be fixed and we go back home to normal. It just means that we have room for God to tell us a new story in our hard circumstances. It means that we can have the confidence and that beauty will rise out of the ashes of our life because of God. The hardest experiences that we have are not the end of our story at all, but can be a part of something more, something new, and something great. Remember these few things as I kind of wrap it up. You're the main character. You're the main character in your story. You're the main character in your movie. Yeah, difficult circumstances aren't fun. Yeah, hard times aren't fun at all. But they're unique to you and only you. And they put you in a position to learn and actually grow from it. I can tell you how many times I've had to go through the muck of things and just kind of realize, oh, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything that you go through. So you can learn and kind of be better from it. These circumstances shape you and make you who you are today. But then here's another point. It's kind of seemed kind of contradictory, but I'm going to tell you why it makes sense. You're not the only character in your movie. There's always going to be people around you. I said no one else has your story, and that's still true. But people around you have a similar story that they go through. And because of what you went through, you can help those people with their own story and help them through it. You wouldn't be able to help them unless you actually went through the storm. Just like how Joseph did what he did and went through what he went through, we're able to learn and grow from it and be better from it. We can do the same thing to our friends, to our family, to people around us in our lives, in our daily lives, even in stay-at-home order, even in quarantine. Joseph had a really hard life that might have seemed pointless to him. But when we see his entire backstory and we see everything that he went through, we see that God uses problems and then position them for a purpose, for a better purpose. God took what seemed like an impossible and bad situation and turned it into something beautiful. Now I want you to think about this next time you kind of go through something tough, or currently right now, as we're going through the stay-at-home order, as our school year completely wrapped up, as we're going into summer, still uncertain of what's to come next in the fall, or just in general. Now keep this in mind whenever you go through the thick of it. God can use your position for something good. Out of your ashes, out of our ashes, beauty can rise. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you can join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for our Zoom Hangouts. Link is in our bio. I hope to see you there. I miss you guys so much. Love you. Bye.